Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Cowboys Takeover. I'm your host, Mr. Jason Kent. We are sans Aaron James tonight. He has some moving to do. If you're listeners of the show, you know he's recently moved back home. And he's getting his place, so he's moving in, getting everything set up. So it's just going to be me tonight. I'm sure nobody wants to hear all that, but we have to do the show. We got a big game coming up this week for our Cowboys, man. We're 2-2, but after last week, you're really not feeling well. I think I was muted the whole intro. So, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Cowboys Takeover. I am your host, Jason Kent. That is going to look terrible, but hey, here we go. Sometimes mistakes happen. We're without Aaron James tonight. He's moving. So we're just going to talk about our Cowboys, man. It's a big week. We are 2-2 going into this weekend. It's a big Sunday night matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They go into Pittsburgh. As of right now, Dallas is a 2.5 point underdog. But man, it's a tough week. When you look at kind of the way Dallas played last week, you can't feel confident, especially with the coming off of the two losses, really pretty embarrassing losses. First to the Saints, and then a game where they did show life at the end against the Ravens. And you really wanted to see last week, you wanted to see Dallas really kicking on all cylinders, man, against what I think most people would consider poor New York Giants team. And we did not see Dallas really just put their foot on the Giants' throat like you really expect Dallas and Dak to do. So, man, we're going to miss Aaron's positivity tonight because it just doesn't look good. When you look at this game, when you look at the keys for Pittsburgh, we're going to start there. And what Pittsburgh does well this season is what Pittsburgh's done well pretty much every season they've been around, and that's defense. In the NFL right now, they have a top 5 defense. They're one of the best statistical defenses. They're ranked 4th in the league, giving up 261 yards. And it doesn't get easier. What they do even is the best, is what they've always done really well is stop that run. They only give up 86 yards a game rushing. Dallas doesn't even average 86 yards a game rushing. And their pass defense is still top 7 in the league at 174 yards a game. So, their key to victory is going to start with that defense. It's going to start with TJ Watt. If you're Pittsburgh, you're really looking at what the Giants did to Dallas last week, how they really abused Guyton on that at the left tackle spot. And TJ is a guy that he does have 3 sacks on the season. He's a former defensive player of the year. He's going to move around a lot. They still have Cam Hayward. So, their key to victory is really just getting after the quarterback. Because, when you have a top 5, top 3 rush defense, and Dallas, who is one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL, doesn't even average 80 yards a game, they don't have to worry about it. They don't have to scheme for any sort of rushing attack for Dallas. You really don't expect Dallas to get a rush going this game, especially given how good Pittsburgh is. So that is really getting after the quarterback. TJ Watt, letting him go. And they do have playmakers in that secondary, starting with Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then they have Joey Porter Jr., and they had a real big signing this year in Patrick Queen. He came over from Pittsburgh, really helped that defense. A player, middle linebacker, who I know I was big on in the offseason, where Aaron and I have had our shows discussing players. He was somebody I thought Dallas could have signed and could have fit right in there. They did go out and get Kendricks, but he'd have been a great player. So it's going to start up front, and that's where Dallas, their weakness is shown. Dak last week got hit a lot, just got beat. He's having to move around. I know we had discussed prior how their defense has done really well, but their offensive line has done well. I think it was one of the best in giving up sack percentages in the league, but it was, last week it was really exploited, and Guyton didn't look great. So I think Pittsburgh's going to have to take care of some matchups there. And then on the offensive side of the ball, when you look at Pittsburgh, I think their key to victory there is going to be their running game. When you look at it, they're not a very good offense. They're middle of the pack. They have, as of right now, it's going to be Justin Fields at quarterback. So you know what he gives you. He's a guy that gives you that run game, the running ability. He's not the best passer. He didn't really work out in Chicago. As you see, they're the bottom third of the league with 189 yards a game passing, which isn't very good these days. But they do have a very, very solid looks like top 10 rushing attack at 128 yards a game. Now, with that being said, when you actually look at their team in terms of rushing, Najee Harris is leading the way, 68 carries, but only 228 yards. I'd say it's 3.4 yards a carry. And then second is Fields at 38 rushes for 145 yards. So they're not averaging a ton. As a team, they do, again, have 120 yards a game, but it's not just one guy. It's by committee. And you look at a guy like Najee Harris, who's really big coming out of college. They thought Pittsburgh really wanted him, thought he could be the guy to make a difference, and he hasn't really gotten it going. So you would think this game, given how bad Dallas's rush defense is, if you're Pittsburgh, you really want to rely more on the rush this week because their pass defense, you still have Diggs. The good thing is they're not going to have the pass rush. But if you can get that run game going, take the pressure off Justin Fields early, he's shown he could be a quarterback. We're not at the pressure. If he could sit back there, give the option to run or pass, he can get the job done. And he has done that so far this year. Pittsburgh is a 3-1 team. They did kind of lose last week. They blew that game, but you expect Pittsburgh to come into this game really ready to run the ball and just, take advantage of what Dallas is missing. Because as we discussed in our post-game show last week, Dallas is going to beat down Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence this week. So you don't have, you're missing two of your premier pass rushers and you already have a bad rush defense. It spells a recipe for disaster. And that's really why I wish Aaron was here tonight, because he's the guy that brings the positivity to my negativity. So it doesn't really work with just me, myself, But when you look at the other side, I got to kind of look at it. We have to look at the keys for Dallas. It's really going to start with, I think you have to make Pittsburgh one-dimensional. I know we haven't seen it. Last week, they did do very well, Aaron, and did think it was, could be the start of something big with really average, letting Singletary only get 1.4 yards of rush last week. So if they haven't been great on this season, you saw other good running backs really hurt us. Najee's a guy you're not sure of, but if you can take any step from last week, any positivity, it was the rush defense. So I think if you're Dallas, you kind of look at what you did last week, really prevent that. If you can take the rush away from this Pittsburgh team and make them one-dimensional, it does stink that you're losing Micah and you're losing Tank, but if you can make Pittsburgh one-dimensional, Fields is a guy that will make mistakes. So if you're Dallas on that defensive side, you really got to tighten up. Kendricks has to be flying around. Overshown has to really make some big plays this week. He made a couple of very good plays last week. We discussed in the play with Neighbors in the flats, getting out there, making a tackle on a guy who looks like he's going to be a premier receiver in this league for a long time. And Overshown's, he's a rookie. Overshown's didn't play last year. He's essentially a rookie, got the injury last year. So it's good to see him be able to make those plays against the premier receivers. So you want to see him make some plays this week and really kind of make some plays. Don't let Pittsburgh get going. And then when you jump to the other side of the ball, when you're Dallas, your keys to victory, it has to start with Dak because you don't have a run game. And the tough part is with Zeke not doing well, Rico's, doing okay, but Dallas doesn't really establish that run game. It's really got to start with Dak and CD. which is really tough because you're going against a very, very good defense. And you don't want to see Dak have to drop back that much. When you have a guy like TJ Watt that could be coming off of either edge, you have Cameron Hayward, has been a disruptor in this league for many years. Queen's a fast linebacker. He's a guy that can shoot gaps. You get nervous because this Pittsburgh defense does fly around. Minka comes off the edge. So you have to be worried if you're Dallas. You want to see the short plays. I want to see Dak get the ball out of his hand quick. Kind of like what the Giants did to our defense last week. When you looked at the Giants last week, early in that game, basically through the whole first half, Daniel Jones was hitting Rondale Moore and hitting Neighbors on those very quick plays. They had a 10, and I think one of them had 11, and one had 8 catches. And they weren't big plays, but that's what, if you're Dallas right now, you don't have the luxury of dropping Dak back 40 times a game. And I underestimated how good their offensive line would be. I did think they would be able to survive, as we've seen in the past. When you lose Tyron Smith, we've always had a guy there to fill in and really maybe not put the level that Smith put at that left tackle spot, but they've always had able to fill in, and Dak's usually been pretty well. So to see him, Guyton kind of give some mistakes. We discussed it. Could you move Tyler Smith out there? Maybe you might have to at some point, but I want to see more just getting the ball out of Dak's hands. If you can't run the ball, let's get quick passes to the running backs, to Rico. Get Turpin moving around there. Get Cooks on, little drag routes. Let's get the ball out of Dak's hand. Make it the extension of that run game because we can't set up the run game. So that's what they need to do offensively. But it looks like a tall order against this Pittsburgh team. And, man, after I was talking with Aaron today, and he told me he wasn't going to be on the show. And he's like, I could call in for a little bit, but he's not sure with moving. He wasn't sure everything's going to be. And I asked him for his predictions. And when you look at it, Aaron, this is why I wish you were here today, buddy. When I look through these predictions, Aaron, where's my phone? Aaron had them winning 24-23, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on 1 second, guys. Here we go. Apologize for that. So I text him, and this is Aaron's words to say, hey, bud, what we have? What's your prediction? He's 24-23 Cowboys win. Aubrey saves the day. Auto Aubrey. So he's been looking for a catchphrase for Mr. Aubrey. Automatic Aubrey. Really seems like it. After last week, he did miss a 51-yarder, his first one of his career, 50-plus yards. But listen, I'm not so optimistic. I have a tough time seeing how Dallas can pull this one out. Saving grace is Justin Fields. There have been talks about Russ being ready to go this week, being more than just an emergency quarterback. So if he is active and Fields doesn't look good, there might be an opportunity to see Russell Wilson. And he's a guy that could come in. He's been very good in this league. So you're not sure. But with that being said, I do think Dallas loses. I do think Pittsburgh takes advantage of the rush defense. I do have Dallas losing 24-17 because I do think Pittsburgh has a very good defense as well. I think Dallas struggles offensively. I don't see them getting going. I do see Dak starting to struggle. And the problem is going to be that run game. If you can't get a run game, you're not going to be able to keep dropping Dak back. You have to be able to at least have people not be able to rush. Not just go off that edge knowing Dallas, because Dallas doesn't have a rushing attack right now. So it's really hindering them. And I think as you come down against these premier defenses, it's really going to start to hurt Dak. And he's going to start to take some big hits. And then, I know Aaron always does it. Him not being here today, we do have Pittsburgh We did run it. Madden simulation. Madden has Pittsburgh winning 31-24. And what was not a really close game. It was a game that Pittsburgh was dominating most of the game. And Dallas kind of came at the end. But when you kind of look at the stats, Aaron likes to do his over-unders. I like it too. He's not here, so it's not as good. But what they have, Justin Fields going for the day, 23-32 for 254. That's a 71% completion percentage. 1 touchdown, no interceptions. I think if he's throwing the ball 32 times, Dallas is getting a takeaway. But on the other side, flip side, Dak, exactly 23-32 again. Same as Fields. For a little bit less, 248. But he has 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So neither one really did anything. On the other side, on the flip side, they had Tolbert was the big player for Dallas at 12 catches, over 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But they also kind of agreed, Madden agrees with how bad Dallas's rush offense is and how good Pittsburgh's rush defense is. Dallas's top rusher was Dak at 47 yards, but the top running back was Zeke at 17. So what's not looking like a good weekend if you're a Dallas fan. Listen, this is the NFL. We could always come out. Dallas can always come out and win. And there is an opportunity. Anytime you have a Justin Fields-led team, the defense has an opportunity for a big day. You can definitely have a big day against him if you can get after him. But it's going to have to start with that defensive line and those linebackers. They're really going to have to stop Najee. You're going to have to really contain Fields because he is a guy that you can do some things with, run quarterback sweeps with. So you're going to have to contain him. If you can contain Najee and make them a one-dimensional team, that's how Dallas pulls this out. That's you have to have it hard fought. You gotta get after him. You got to shut down the run game. Can't let them do what Pittsburgh did. I'm sorry, what Baltimore did against us. Baltimore, that's the game that really hurt because Baltimore, they were shutting down Henry early. But Baltimore knew who they were and just kept running the ball. So I think if Pittsburgh really sticks to it, eventually it'll get there. But you hope Dallas can shut them down. That's going to be the only way Dallas wins if they can get Justin Fields throwing that ball 35 times. I think if he has to throw over 30 times, I think that's good for Dallas. I think that means Dallas is winning that game and you're shutting down the rush defense. But Aaron's the only one that has him winning. Aaron, I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right, sir. But that's it for today. We really appreciate everyone for checking in, for giving us a listen. Thank you so much for everybody checking live. If you're on the YouTube pages, either one of them, the Ring the Bell podcast, or the Ring the Bell Network show, or the Dallas Cowboys Takeover podcast show, or if you're watching us on Twitter, thank you so much. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit that whatever you could do to get those notifications weekly. We will be back. I think Aaron said at the latest Tuesday for the post game. He does want to be on for the post game show. So we're at the latest Tuesday. We're just kind of seeing when he gets in, when he gets everything set up. So we'll keep everybody, let all you know. We really appreciate each and every one of you checking us out each and every week. We thank you. We appreciate. We love you. Cowboys, please prove me wrong. Please make me wrong. Let's have somebody step up. Let's get somebody off that edge. Or somebody step up for Micah. Somebody's got to make a big play. We got to get a big play from defense this week. Thank you all. Love you all. Let's go, Cowboy Nation.